As the sun shines on all of my glory, my flaws don't look so bad at all. What was I so afraid of?
Hey everybody, it's Sharmel. Welcome back to Locks Lux Lifestyle. Welcome back to another video. So today's video is going to be like a chit chat transparency talk video. So let's hop right into it. So as you guys can see from the title, this is going to be like a part 2 video for a video that I just posted not too long ago. Okay, so it was a video about me doing my hair plus a transparency talk video, and I was talking about how some situations had occurred with 2021 coming to an end. It just kind of triggered some feelings in me, and honestly in that video I was just doing a lot of venting. And when I went back to edit it and watch the video back, honestly I didn't really care for it too much, but because of my hair I decided to go ahead and post it. The reason I didn't care for it too much is because for me personally watching it, I felt like I was doing a lot of complaining. And as I go along my life journey, I allow myself to feel what I feel. So I allow myself to be sad about situations. If I need to cry it out, I allow myself to feel the emotions of life essentially. But for me, one of the things that I've worked on over the past few years, that I'm gonna cry about my problems, but I'm also going to make sure I use the same energy that I'm crying and look for a solution and look to make whatever it is I'm upset about better. And so when I watched that video back, I just felt like I didn't offer any actual solutions to managing triggers. And especially with my platform, I feel like if I'm going to do these transparency talks, if I'm going to talk about things, it's good to be introspective. It's good to release certain feelings. But I feel like with this platform, it's also my responsibility to offer you guys tools if we are going to talk about these things. So I decided to do a part 2 of these managing triggers, and I want to give you guys some actual tips in managing your triggers. So if you would like to see more, keep watching. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about when it comes to like dealing with triggers is understand that there will always be triggers. And in addition to understanding that there's always going to be triggers, you have to know your triggers. Accepting your triggers will allow you to be more offensive when it comes to life. It'll allow you to be more prepared. I feel like many of us, we want to live like a error-free life. We want to live like a problem-free life. And you can do everything right. Things will still go wrong. And so because of that, you have to accept that, I may run into a situation that's going to trigger me. But if I know my triggers, I will be more prepared for it when or if it does happen. So my second point is that a trigger is just that, okay? It's just a trigger. In many situations where we are triggered, the actual situation at hand, not in all cases, but in many cases, the situation at hand poses no actual threat to us in the moment. All the trigger does is bring certain emotions to the surface, right? So when you are in a situation where you feel triggered, you have to remind yourself that, okay, I'm triggered right now, but that's all it is. It's just some emotions that are coming up, but this situation is not going to harm me. This situation does not pose a threat to me in this moment. And so now my third talking point is that you have to take responsibility and accountability for the role that you play in your triggers. So hear me out. So obviously there are always going to be certain circumstances that are completely out of your control, that you have no say-so in, that just kind of happen, and you just have to deal with what just happened. However, if you find yourself constantly being triggered by certain things, different people, certain situations, at some point you have to take accountability for why you're constantly being triggered. The reality is that many of us, we are active participants in our triggers. We are active participants in our disappointments. We are active participants in our misery. We are active participants in many of the toxic things that we deal with in our life. Again, this is not going to be for all situations in all cases, but a lot of the times we are the common denominator, right? So for some people, that may be staying in a dead-end relationship that is not working out. It could be staying in a dead-end job that you're unhappy in. It could mean that you are engaging and participating in certain things or dealing with certain people who have a history of being toxic to you, or have a history of there just being issues, but you continue to indulge, or you continue to communicate, you continue to allow certain people to have access to you. I feel like a lot of times many of us can have a woe is me type of spirit. We feel like everything bad that happens, we personalize it. We feel like people are doing bad things to us. Everything is going wrong because somebody did this, or this is not happening. And we just take on this woe is me spirit. And so in my case, when I was venting in that other video, I feel like part of me being triggered was I had to accept the role that I played in the situation that triggered me. So a lot of times we have the issue or the problem, and then we have the outcome. And usually we are triggered, for at least for me, I'm speaking for me. In my case, there was an issue and a problem, and then there was the outcome. And then when the outcome wasn't what I hoped for it to be, that's when I got triggered. That's when my emotions started to come into place, and then that's when everything started to spiral. So although I can look at this situation and complain and be mad about the outcome, however, the outcome wasn't random. The outcome didn't just happen. So I can't complain about being triggered by the outcome when there were things that I did or contributed to the overall issue that led to the outcome. At some point, you have to do some introspection. At some point, you have to sit down and say, you know, I was wrong in this aspect. When you do that, you know, it hurts. You know, I feel like a lot of the times we feel like because we don't do things intentionally, that our actions or the things we do can't hurt people. There's always intent versus impact. I feel like part of knowing your triggers is owning up to whatever role that you play. Therefore, if I know what I did this time and it led to the outcome of me being triggered and upset, the next time around I can be more mindful of my actions and the way that I move, so that that same situation doesn't happen, which leads me to being upset, emotional, or in my feelings. And then for my next talking point, again, this is going to be another thing that kind of varies situation to situation. But if you find yourself in a situation where you are being triggered, you want to remove yourself from whatever the situation is, and you want to cut it off. So like I said, that's going to look different situation to situation. So in my case, what I did, like I told you guys, I allow myself to feel what I feel. And I have another video too where I talk about managing your emotions. And in that video, I say that when something happens and I'm upset, what I do is I either allow myself to feel sad or I work on the solution. But I don't do both at the same time. So last week when I was feeling upset, I took the time off, just enjoyed my week, didn't overload my schedule, and just allowed myself to feel how I feel. And then the following week, you know, I accepted what happened, and I felt like I was able to move forward and feel a little better. So like I said, again, in every situation, you are not going to be able to say like, oh, I'm not going to do anything for a week. I understand that. But if you are in a situation where you feel like you're being triggered, do what you need to do in that moment to detach yourself. So if that means just taking deep breaths for 10 seconds and recentering yourself, do that. If you need to step out for a minute and collect yourself, do that. You always want to prioritize your emotions. Because I was actually listening to a podcast this week, and the podcast was about something a little different. But in that podcast, she specifically talked about the story of Moses, and basically how, you know, Moses is a highly respected character in the Bible, and he was the one who, you know, led the children of Israel out of Egypt and into the promised land. And even after doing all of that, even as respected as he was, he didn't make it into the promised land. And if you're familiar with the Bible and the story about the children of Israel, essentially they were slaves in Egypt. Moses was led by God to lead them out of Egypt, and God had promised them the promised land that was flowing with milk and honey. However, he didn't just take them straight from Egypt to the promised land. You know, there was a series of events that happened. He had to take them through the wilderness and take them all around. It wasn't like a direct route. And through the process, the children of Israel, they were complaining. They complained about everything. And so basically, long story short, Moses got fed up with them, and he did something without God telling him to. And so there were consequences for his actions. So the reason I tell you, if you are feeling triggered, you need to find time to remove yourself and center yourself, is because you don't want to react to a situation that has long-lasting consequences. So a lot of times when you're in these tense situations or whatever may have you, they trigger your fight or flight response. And so it's very important to be mindful, because you don't want to react in a way that has lasting or damaging consequences. So it's really important that you remove yourself. It's really important that you take time to breathe. And like I said, from point 2, to remember that a trigger is just that, a trigger, and that the situation at hand does not pose any harm to you. Anything, honestly, that is costing you your peace, cut it off. So if it's social media, if it's the TV, like I was talking about how I was feeling overwhelmed with COVID and how everywhere I turn, they're talking about COVID. So that means that I need to limit time on my phone, because every time I get on social media, I see it. I don't watch the news already because I don't want to hear about it. I watched old TV series that had nothing to do with COVID, that took place pre-pandemic, so that I wouldn't have to hear it, because I know hearing it triggers certain feelings and emotions in me. So yes, it's just very important that if you do find yourself being triggered, that you find a way to steal some time and to cut it off. Like, there's no way to tiptoe around it. It's like you have to, in the moment, you have to literally cut it off. And then the last thing I want to talk about and kind of close out this video with, I seen this TikTok, and I will insert the video now.
So every time I get a good gym, y'all know I gotta come to y'all and give y'all the tea. So last night I was reading in Genesis chapter 19. So me and my friend, we read the whole chapter. So basically, just to give y'all the background real quick, God told Lot, take your wife and your 2 kids and go to the mountains and don't look back. So he like, but God, like I can't go up there. Let me go to a smaller place. And I think it's called Zoar. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. So he like, I don't care where you go, just get out of here, like, cause I'm finna destroy this area. So and he was like, because you're favored, I'm gonna wait until you get to where you're going, and then I'm gonna destroy this area. But don't look back. And so, okay, cool. Like, him and his kids and his wife, they get to running. God said, don't turn around. Keep going. Get ready for what's in front of you, your new area. Okay, and so his wife turns around, and she turns into a pillar of salt, y'all. I was like, she did what? She turns into a pillar of salt. She was so unwilling to, like, turn away from the past and just follow God full wholeheartedly with all her faith, that he was like, you can't trust in me? You can't put your trust in me or faith in me? Pillar of salt. So it just like hit me, because it's like it will never make progress in life if we're always clinging to the past and holding on to pieces in the past. And it changed my whole outlook, because I was just so stuck in the past. And like when I read this, I was like, whoa, like this hit it home. And cause I'm like, ain't no way like I'm ever going to get to where I want to be in life, emotionally, mentally, physically. I'm always thinking about the past. I'm always clinging to the past. I'm always like looking back and wishing and hoping for the past. Like, no. So we got grace, cause see, I would have been turned into a pillar of salt. Come on now. I would have been some salt. So anyway, we got grace, and I'm grateful for that. But it was just like, I wanted to share this, because like I feel like a lot of people, they need to know, like, you can never move forward if you always stuck in the past. Amen. So yeah, shout out to her for the story, you know what I'm saying, because it's helping me. It definitely changed my outlook on what I need to do in life and what I need to let go of and stuff that I'm clinging to in the past. Child.
And so this TikTok really resonated with me when it came across my For You page. Because in a lot of my TikTok videos last year, I talked about how I was transitioning into a new version of myself, and just kind of like the ups and downs and struggles with doing that. And in the process, I was also preparing my notes for this video. And this video is a piggyback off of my last video. In my last video, you know, when I was being triggered, I was talking about how looking back at who I was too was also aiding to triggering me. And so when I seen this video, I was like, okay, I think this is my word for 2022, is to stop looking back. We all need a little bit of reflection and introspection, but part of what's been triggering me is really letting go of who I used to be and really embracing it. Like, you know, I'm slowly embracing it, but really letting it go is hard. And I said in a previous video is that I've been allowing myself to kind of mourn who I used to be. After I deal with the mourning, you have to be willing to really release it and let it go. And I feel like the reason I keep getting triggered by like old pictures or just like reminiscing about things that was happening before or life before is because I haven't completely let it go. I haven't completely released it. And I feel like until I really release it, I'm gonna struggle with coming to be who I'm meant to be in this moment, in this day, in this present time. Like she said in this TikTok, you have to stop looking back. And after I seen that TikTok, I opened up my Bible app and actually read Genesis chapter 19. It's like the story she's talking about is verses 1 through like 27, 28, 29, 30 or something like that. But it's basically the story of when God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Basically, they was going crazy. They was doing a lot in Sodom and Gomorrah. And a lot of what's going on right now is feeling like Sodom and Gomorrah. And so basically, Lot was Abraham's cousin. Abraham is one of the founding fathers in the Bible. He's the father of many nations. And so Lot wasn't even with Abraham at the time, but because of Lot's connection with Abraham, Abraham asked God to protect his family, to keep Lot. And so I've just been thinking about like the prayers that I pray in the midst of all this chaos. I've been constantly asking God to keep me, to keep my family, to keep my friends, to keep all my loved ones, keep us healthy, keep us sane. And God did exactly that. And Lot, even in the midst of the chaos, God kept giving him chances. God had told Lot and his family to go to the mountains. I believe Lot was getting old and he said he wasn't going to be able to make it to the mountains. So God, he even answered that, and God was like, okay, well, just go to where you can go and I'm going to still protect you. And then, the wife ended up looking back and she turned into a pillar of salt. And it just made me just really reflect on like, if I'm going to keep asking God to keep me and to bring me and to bless me and to make me better and to make me just be everything that he designed me to be, and he's doing it. Like I said in my last video, when I checked the record, when I look back at how far I've come, he's doing exactly that. And so it's getting to the point where it's like, it's up to me to really trust it. And as long as I keep looking back, as long as I keep being triggered by things that happened in the past, it's going to delay my progress. You never know how you will be blessed. You never know who God will use to bless you, who God will use to speak to you. Because when I seen that video, I'm sitting on, how you be on TikTok laughing and giggling. And when that video came up, I was like, I needed that. And I had already started putting the notes together for this video. And I feel like that was what I needed to just really close out this video. So part of managing your triggers, when we're talking about triggers, you have to really trust God, trust the process, and stop looking back. When I think about all the things that triggered me that I was talking about in that video, is because I was reminiscing. I was harping on old problems. I was harping on things that had happened, occurred, and I made it through, but for some reason I couldn't let it go. And so part of my journey for 2022, I gotta start letting stuff go, okay? I have to stop looking back and I have to really focus on what's ahead and pushing towards what's ahead. So that is going to be it for this video, you guys. I hope you all enjoyed. If you have anything you would like to add to the conversation, definitely leave it down in the comment section. Again, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, Snatched by Sharmel, and I will see you all in my next video.